Hello, my loves, and welcome back to the Can't Stop Talking podcast. I have such an amazing episode for you guys today. It was actually a live I did a couple of weeks ago that you guys absolutely loved. And I was sitting here on this sunny Saturday morning with my coffee, re-listening to it, being like, wow, I was spitting straight facts. So this episode is how everyone is overcomplicating sales and what to do instead. And if you love this topic, I'm actually hosting a free, yeah, you heard that right, a free masterclass on my 3-step method to attracting soulmate clients without sales calls, sales pages, and confusing technology. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I want to be there, 70 plus of you have already signed up, which is just insane. I'm shook. I'm so excited, but I'm going to leave the link in the show notes. Come join us. That'll be August 16th. And of course, there will be a replay available. So without further ado, here is the episode. You are overcomplicating the shit out of your business because you think that's the only way to make sales. You think it needs to feel hard. It needs to feel complicated in order for your business to grow. You are trying to be too perfect, and that is stopping you from doing anything. That is stopping you from the community you want, the sales you want, the business you want, the freedom, the life you want. Because you are overcomplicating the whole process. And I'm here to tell you that when you make it easy, your results become easy. Hi, Melinda, my past client. I love you so much. I'm so glad that you were on this live with me. I could not wait to talk about this today, you guys. I missed you so much. I miss going live. Hello, my love. Hi, guys. Oh my God. I'm so happy you guys are all here. So this is going to be a very powerful live. I feel this fire in me. I just wanted to go live. I did a podcast. Hello, everyone. Oh, you guys are all so sweet. I did a podcast with my client this morning. She runs 2 businesses and she works 4 hours a day. And I want to explain exactly how this happens, how she still makes sales, how she's still scaling, yet there are other people who are working 9 to 5 and they're not seeing the same results, right? They're stuck in the mud. They feel like they need to do more and more and more and nothing's happening. And this live, I can guarantee you, will change your life, if not your business, but I'm going in today. Ooh, I'm excited. Okay, so here's the thing. We overcomplicate everything because our brains tell us that if it's complicated, that if it feels hard, then I deserve the result. Then I deserve the money if I'm working hard, right? Society has always told us this. Then I deserve the weight loss if I'm killing myself in the gym. Then I deserve love if I'm constantly working on myself and going on a million dates. You deserve it because you're worthy and you're worthy right now, period. It doesn't have to be hard. I'm going to teach you all my tips and tricks for how I make everything easy, period. It's going to be literally, I can't believe I've talked about this. Obviously, I always talk about this, but I'm ready to go in today. So here's the reason why my client works 4 hours a day and she's scaling her business. She runs 2 businesses and she's constantly making sales. The reason is because she doesn't make the fact that she works 4 hours a day mean anything about what she gets to have. That's number 1, her mindset, right? She doesn't decide, I only worked 4 hours a day. I don't deserve a client. No. She doesn't say, I only worked 4 hours a day. I can't grow my community, right? She decides that because she works 4 hours a day, she gets to have her life of freedom. She gets to make sales and she gets to have clients, right? Here's the other part. So many of you are working 9 to 5, and that's amazing. Like if you're obsessed with your business that day, but so many of you are working 9 to 5 and you're doing things to be perfect, right? You're not putting up that story because you have to look at everyone else's story and make sure that yours looks kind of like theirs, right? You're not putting up that piece of content because you have to go through everyone else's content to make sure that your content sounds right. Let me know if this is hitting, right? If this is landing. You have to compare yourself to everyone else in the industry, on TikTok, on social media, on Instagram, to make sure that you can put out that thing. You don't have blinders on, right? You think your stuff needs to be perfect instead of just grabbing your phone, going live, and speaking what you need to say. Man, this is landing big time. I'm so happy, Melinda, right? Your self-doubt, your comparison, and your scrolling is the reason that you're working so much. Because in reality, if I gave you 2 hours, maybe 4, whatever you want, and I deleted TikTok off your phone, you only had the ability to post your stuff and post on your stories, and you couldn't look at anyone else's stuff, how long would it take you? For me, probably like a half hour. Like seriously, like it would be so fast. Why? Because you would have to trust yourself. You would have to pick up the camera and say exactly what you are thinking. You would have to write that post and just put out exactly what you want to say. You wouldn't look to anyone else. You would trust what is coming up inside of you is what your clients need to hear. Yesterday, I went on my story, right? I'm speaking, and then I hear like beep. I was like, all right, there's one beep. And it was 2 more honks. And I stopped the story, and instead of saying, I'm going to restart the story, I put that story up and said, wait till the end, right? Why? Because I had self-trust. I decided that that first take was perfect. I didn't need to go back, right? I didn't need to doubt myself. When you have self-trust, when you have confidence, when you know who you are, you know that everything that comes out of your mouth is exactly what your client needs to hear. And that cuts your day in half, right? How would it feel to put up a story and know that your ideal client's going to hear it and want to sign up with you? How would it feel if you posted a piece of content and said, that was the best shit since sliced bread? I know that's going to land with someone. That confidence is magnetic. That confidence is what attracts in your ideal client. That confidence is what grows your business because you're not looking outside of yourself for the answers that are within. And here's the thing. You guys aren't letting it be easy, right? This happens to me all the time. I'm the queen of ease. But I get stuck in this trap of this needs to look perfect. So this weekend, I'm creating content and I'm like, wait a second. It was taking me like an hour, right? And I was like, how can I make this easy? I want you guys to start asking yourself, how can I make this easy? And what did I say? As I said that, I found this social media. It was called Social Stock. It's not sponsored. And they had stock videos of like your laptop. If you go look at my last reels, I bought all these stock photos. It was $42 a month. And then I had so much motivation to create these reels because I already had the videos because I let it be easy. I didn't tell myself, oh my gosh, you can't use these videos. People are going to know that's not your home. No, I was like, this is amazing content. And what I'm putting in here is going to land and people are going to love this. And this is upping my reels game. The next thing I did while I was creating this content, I was like, why don't I use ChatGPT? Had I ever used it before? No, I'm like, everyone's talking about this. Why don't I ask ChatGPT to help me make my content? Slice my hours in half again, right? Came up with so much stuff. Next, everyone knows this about me. Everyone's like, you have to find your hashtags. It takes you 2 hours to find hashtags. I go to someone who's in my niche, whose content is killing it, and I copy their hashtags. I borrow them. Copy takes me 2 seconds. Done. I have a whole post. How? I had a video from someone else. I used ChatGPT to make the content and the caption. And then I copied someone else's hashtags. That is how you can let it be easy. You are overcomplicating everything and you're telling yourself it needs to be overcomplicated, and that's why it's taking you 1 day to come out with one piece of content. What if you trusted exactly what you need to say? I just hit start on this live and I started spewing because I know that what's coming out of my mouth is exactly what my ideal client needs to hear, right? I didn't second guess myself or else I wouldn't freaking be here. The next thing, right? Other things that I do to make it easy is with my podcast. I didn't want to restart my podcast. I was like, my podcast is too imperfect, right? No one's going to listen. It's not perfect enough. And why did I think it wasn't perfect? I asked myself, why don't you think it's perfect? And I said, because I don't have a jingle at the beginning of my episodes. And then I asked myself, how do I like to consume podcast episodes? I hate when there's a jingle that takes up the whole minute of the podcast. Instead, I just said, I'm going to say, welcome back to the Can't Stop Talking podcast. Bam. What happened next? I started putting out podcast episodes every week because my mindset wasn't telling me that it wasn't good enough. I switched my mindset on what the podcast was. I switched my mindset to believe that my podcast is amazing. And that's what happened. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy, my love. Go biz with me, said obsessed with your podcast. Thank you, I'm obsessed with you. And so the next thing, right? I was like, how am I going to come out with podcast episodes every single week? That was my next thing that I felt wasn't easy. And then I was like, wait, I go live every single week. Why can't I just download the live and put it up on my podcast? And you know what my brain said? My brain said, wait, they're already watching your lives. Why would they listen to it on your podcast? And then my Let It Easy Be mind said, how do I do this? So what did I do? I found Clip Grab. It's free and you can download your IG lives and then you use it, download it, and you put it up to your podcast. And what happened is my audience said, because I said, no, people are going to want to hear this. My audience, who I know have already listened to that live. I had one girl who I was on the live. She said, I listened to your podcast and I needed to hear that. And I was laughing because I was like, you were on that live. You just didn't remember. You are overcomplicating everything because you think if you don't do it in a certain way that feels complicated and hard, that it's not good enough. Instead of just deciding that everything's good enough now, right? That the easiest way gets the best results. And if you create the belief system that the way you do things is perfect, that's what's going to happen, right? And so how this really started for me is honestly my weight loss journey, right? I lost 20 pounds and I made a podcast episode for you guys. So I'm really excited for you guys to listen to it, but it's how I lost 20 pounds because that changed my effing life. Not because I lost the weight. That didn't change my life. What changed my life is for my whole entire life tried to lose weight. I did every freaking diet in the book, keto, Whole30, intermittent fasting. I would kill myself. I went to the gym 5 days a week, would wake up at 5:45 before work just to go to the gym. And I never lost weight. And then I let it be easy. And I found this book, Intuitive Eating. And I started walking. And I cut down my hard workouts. And I started eating whatever I wanted. And the weight slipped right off. And what I found from that is when you let it be easy, then consistency becomes easy and the results become easy, right? And so I use this into my business. When I started this business, you guys, I didn't take the track of overwhelm. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, there's so much to do. I said, this is going to be easy. And it's only been easy for me. Ask anyone. Everyone who comes into my world, all my clients, they always say, you make it so simple. You make it so easy. I take so much action, right? I'm here live with you. I post stories every day. I post content every day. I show up for my business every single day, but I make it fun. I make it an extension of my life. I make it easy, right? And so when I started my business, I said, how can I make this be easy? And I said, I'm just going to do it all on Instagram. I said, I don't need a sales page. I'm going to sell on my stories. I don't need to do sales calls anymore. I'm going to sell in the DMs, right? I'm going to build a community on Instagram and I'm going to put all my focus on Instagram before I move to another platform. And that's what I did. I let it be easy. And that's why I grew faster than so many of my peers. Because I didn't give in to the comparison, the self-doubt, and the scrolling. And yes, I have days when I do that. We're human, right? I have days where I'm looking at someone else's success and I'm like, wow, that was quick. But when I see myself doing that, I don't have my blinders on, right? I'm not in creating. I always say when you're looking at someone else and you're saying, oh my gosh, like I'm jealous of their success, that's just because you're not busy in your own business. And the other cool thing is when you're jealous of someone else, that's just a sign saying you know that you can do that. You're jealous of that person because you're like, oh, I know I can accomplish that. So get to effing work, girlfriend. Go for it. So here's how I let things be easy, right? I ask myself, what do I like as the client? What do I like to binge, right? And this is what gives me permission. One, I want to say that I listen to creators that talk about ease. I take their beliefs in, right? I listen to the creators who are like, it gets to be easy. You get to have this freedom. It gets to be fun. Because that's what fills my mind. So I keep my beliefs and my expanders with people who I really, really, really trust and has the lifestyle that I want. Yes, Joanne. So what I do is I ask myself, how do I like to consume stuff as a client? So the first thing, for example, sales calls, I was like, I hate going on a sales call as a client. This is my preference. If you like sales calls, keep them. I hate going on sales calls because I know I'm going to get sold to. I said I'd rather be sold to in the DMs. So then I started selling to my clients in the DMs. Started closing $12,000 clients in the DMs, right? Because I said, this is what gets to happen. The next thing I ask myself is, how do I like to consume content, right? So for example, yesterday I was on a walk and I was listening to a podcast and it was like over an hour long and I was really interested on the topic. But what I realized is I hated the fact that it was an hour long. And it's so interesting because I thought about the creator and the creator is probably like, I need to make this podcast episode an hour long so that it looks valuable. I'd rather listen to a podcast that's 20 minutes long that gives me all the value quickly that I can binge instead of sitting there and listening to an hour of content. I've heard people complain about Joe Rogan because his episodes are too long. How are you deciding that your courses need to be longer, your modules need to be longer, your podcasts need to be longer, right? You're deciding all these things. Why don't you ask yourself, how do you like to binge content? I love YouTube. I love 15 minutes. That's it, right? That's how I make my podcast. That's how I make these IG lives, right? And so here's the other thing. One of my favorite creators, what I noticed is she's so imperfect. She basically used to have slides for all of her programs. I do love slides now because I'm teaching really actionable steps. But when I had mindset programs, I used to have slides. And what I realized is the courses that I love the most were just someone talking like this, that I could watch them talk. I didn't need slides. And so how are you overcomplicating everything? You're deciding you need slides, need sales pages, need long form hour content. You're overcomplicating this and you're not even asking yourself how you like to consume stuff, right? With your stories too. How do you like to consume stories? Do you like showing your day? Do you like when you can see someone else's day, right? Here's the thing. I always talk about this. After this live, I want you to go on Instagram and ask yourself, what creators can you not stop binging and why? Right? Why? This is success leaves clues. If you can't stop binging this person, they're clearly doing something that you like that you should add to your content or your stories, right? And here's the thing. For me, usually, I like to binge the people who are real people. Why does everyone love Alex Earl, right? Everyone loves Alex Earl because she is a normal girl, right? She went to college. Her room is messy. She loves drinking. She loves partying. She loves being with her friends. She shows her acne. She shows everything about her. And that's why we like binging her. So how can you embody who you are and put that into your stories? I talk about how I like drinking, how I suck at spelling, how I like to make everything easy, right? How I'm obsessed with manifestation. How can you start to use your Instagram as showing your life? Because you are what sells. I always talk about the Kardashians, right? They showed us their sex tape. They worked in Sears. They showed us every divorce and every pregnancy and every childbirth and transitioning. They showed us their whole life. And that's why when they have a product to sell, we buy it. Because we know them. People buy products because they know, like, and trust you. That's literally why. So I want you to ask yourself, when you're doubting yourself, when you're comparing, when you are scrolling, when you're stuck in this cycle, what do you want to post? What do you like to binge? Who are you? What do you want your clients to see? I have literally made money, not when I'm teaching how-tos. The times that I've made the most money is when I've gone on my story and I'm eating literally Chick-fil-A and I'm talking about how I'm celebrating a launch. And so I want you to ask yourself, what are you overcomplicating in your business? How can you make it so much easier? What limiting beliefs are telling you that if you make it easier, you won't get results, right? Like we said, back to the 4-hour workday. My client can work 4 hours a day and that's it because she doesn't make it mean anything about what she gets to have. She makes it mean that she works 4 hours a day and that means that she gets to have as many clients as her heart desires. So, how can you make this business a game? How can you make it more fun? How can you let it be more easy? How can you change your beliefs to make it the easier it is, the better results I get, the more people who want to buy, the more fun I have? My last thing I want to say is when you stop comparing and you stop looking for other people's pages for inspiration. I still love looking at other people's page for inspiration. I just love this online space and I love to see what people are doing. But when you stop, stopping you from getting on your stories because you have to look at everyone else's stuff and you just go and say what you need to say, that is going to land so much harder. Anyone, think about Alex Earl, right? She didn't start making these makeup videos and decide that they weren't good enough. And she had to change something to be like everyone else. She kept making the makeup videos till people started recognizing her. How can you do something different? How can you be so yourself that people start recognizing it and then they start a trend and they start wanting to be like you? So get out there, embody who you are, stop scrolling, stop the self-doubt, just put up what you need to say, hit go, hit play, record that podcast, do what you gotta do, but make it so much easier. And the easier it is, the more consistent you're gonna be and the easier the results are going to get. If you are overcomplicating things, it's going to stop you from taking the messy action. I thought of one more thing I want to say. I'm going on a trip this weekend and I'm going to Ibiza in 2 weeks. 3 weeks, I think. Yeah, so I'm going on a trip this weekend, a 4-day trip down the coast, which I'm so excited for. And the thought came up of I'm traveling a lot, right? I'm traveling a lot and how am I going to make sales if I'm traveling? That thought came up for me. And you know what I said? I said, wait, Sam, the more you travel, the more sales you make, right? And why don't you think that you can make sales when you're traveling? And what came up for me is I'm not sitting at a desk and I'm not working. And I said, how are you making this hard? And I was like, I'm making this hard because I think that if I'm traveling, I can't post. And I'm like, well, how would it be easy? If it was easy, all I would do is take you guys on my trip. I would take out my phone and I would record like I would record for my regular personal page to my friends. I'm going to record my trip for you guys and show you that this is ease. I'm going to change my belief system to I get to get paid to exist. I get to get paid to travel. I get to be paid to live my dream life. And I get paid more when I travel. And then I'm going to ask myself, how can I make this easy? How I'm going to make this easy? I'm already going to batch content and I'm going to just document and vlog my life over the 4-day trip, and especially when I go to Ibiza. So, and this has worked for me every single time. When I went to Cabo, that trip cost me, I think, $2,000, and I made $6,000 that week. Your belief system's everything. The way that you see the actions you have to take is everything. Decide they get to be easy, and just know that you are worthy as you are right now, and you don't need anything else to continue to scale and have the life that you want. So I love you. Hema, thank you so much. Your energy is fired. Thank you, my love. I love you guys so much. And yeah, just have an amazing day. And how can it be easy? I'm going to go to my acupuncture appointment and probably go outside and tan. Mwah.